Welcome to Nuanced Beauty, because the world is nuanced and we think that's beautiful. Hi, Bill.
Hey.
Do you remember where we left off?
No.
We had a really short episode about reacting to like post-hurricane. That was the last thing.
Oh, wow.
That was where we left off. And do you remember when that was?
October?
August, September, October.
I was way off.
I think it was September or October. So, and what is it now? Is it March?
It is March.
Okay. So welcome back to Nuanced Beauty, guys.
Welcome.
And
we kind of did the thing where we just kind of disappeared, which I don't know if
we ghosted y'all.
And I don't know, if folks listening listen to a lot of podcasts, but this has happened to me a couple of times where I'll be listening to a podcast that I really enjoy, and it comes out every Monday and Thursday, and then that Thursday just doesn't come out, and you think, oh no.
What happened? Where'd they go?
It must be a technical issue. It'll come out on Friday, and then it doesn't come out on Friday either. And then like weeks later, you're like, what happened?
You go back to them. Yeah. And you're like, you look when the last episode released and they never release another episode again.
Yeah. Or in this case, they rebranded with new hosts. But it took a couple weeks to suss that out. I'm like, what happened to Mike? I don't know.
Yeah. So, hi, we're back, but we're also kind of not back. So this is our put a bow on it, wrap it up, and send it away sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's get nuanced about it. This is neither a goodbye nor is it a hello. It's a, hey, we learned how to make new logos in ChatGPT, so we're going to make a new podcast.
Yeah, we did. We learned ChatGPT can provide you. Well, Meta AI provided me with the logo.
Oh, is that where it came from?
The podcast logo came from Meta AI, and ChatGPT helped me consider rebranding because podcasting is like fun and it's cool, but it's also a lot of work. Like maybe 3 to 4 hours a week is what I was spending editing or thinking through recording, post-production. It's so cool. I can act like I know stuff when I'm like not at all a professional.
Cool. And I don't think you guys appreciate at home just how many like coffee slurping sounds that you would have if Christina didn't do hours and hours of editing.
Hours and hours. Yeah. So it's cool because I've learned a thing or two about something that I have not been educated on. And I do like to talk and I do like to think a lot. And so the podcast came out of a season of exploring the not so black and white and challenging myself to not be so presumptive and be more curious about things. And that was the heart of Nuanced Beauty. And then fast forward.
And part of it was you exploring what was it for you to not work full time.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And so you're looking for other avenues, semi-professional avenues. Like, okay, if I don't have to work, what am I going to do that's productive?
Yeah. That I would enjoy and find a sense of meaning outside of the household in. Yeah. Yeah, and that probably did, like, that was a key contributor to launching the show, and goodness, with that.
But eventually, okay, you did the thing, and you enjoyed it, but it was a lot of work, and then so when we got to last fall, you were looking to downsize a couple of things because things were busy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we went from, how am I going to fill all my time not working to I have no time.
Yeah, we'd been here just shy of 2 years and kind of had the realization of like, oh, we have people now. We have just stuff, I guess, like clubs and activities and things with our kids and things with the house.
Extracurriculars, but we do some and church groups and
that's what I mean by activities.
And I'm just sussing it out a little more.
Yeah.
So you were no longer looking for a thing to fill time. Your time was plenty full. So we set this to the side.
Yeah, and meanwhile, we also we closed up our microgreens biz, which could be a whole conversation in itself for small businesses and growing a food that's not like growing agriculture, but trying to make that take off, but it kind of didn't. And so we closed up that shop, stopped the podcast. I got off social media for a couple months and it was totally A-okay. Life continued. But meanwhile, I had a couple conversations in there with folks who were interested in starting podcasting. And at least 2 of them asked me if I was ready to sell my equipment. And my gut reaction was like, oh, no, I don't think I'm ready to sell it. I can't sell it.
No. No.
So I paid attention.
I almost gave your equipment away for free one time.
Yeah. But I had this.
I thought you were done.
I had this like, oh, but that was my thing. I can't part ways. I can't give it away, just not yet. Even though I was like, done. I'm not going to record anymore. So I kind of took note of
and to be
those
clear,
reactions.
You do not have hoarding tendencies.
Oh yeah, no.
This wasn't just like oh yeah, I could totally relate to that. I don't like throwing away things either. No, that's not you.
You could go
at
back
all.
to the For Love of Stuff episode
For sure.
and
so
get a little out of that.
If you had a voice saying, "No, I need to hold on to this. This has meaning that's going to come to fruition later." That wasn't just what you say about everything.
Yeah,
that had a weight to it that it maybe wouldn't have for somebody else.
Yeah. Fair enough. That is a really good point. And then meanwhile, being more involved with church groups, like doing a small study with ladies, doing a Bible study fellowship, BSF group on Monday nights. I have had multiple people in the past year thank me appreciatively for sharing in the group. And this sounds really weird to say out loud because I sound like a proud,
Yes, you do.
something or other, a proud person. But there was like a genuine sincerity of like, I really enjoyed what you shared and I really enjoy your input. And it's funny because Bill, you shared your reaction. If somebody had said, I really enjoyed your input, how would you react?
You're full of crap.
Yeah. Or like,
I talk too much. I talked way too much. If you feel the need to tell me about something I said, it's because I said too much.
And so we kind of talked about that a little bit because there are times when somebody will say something and you can't tell if they're sharing it out of a genuine love and affection toward you and caring, or if they're sharing it out of an insecurity. Like, because for Bill and I both, we do get some reactions of like, oh, you guys are just so smart. And it's annoying because it's like, why are you otherizing us? We're not smart. We're
really
smart
not
on what we're smart on. And we're also really stupid on everything else.
Yeah.
And that's not like unique to us.
Yeah, I read a thing you didn't read. That doesn't make me smart.
Yeah. But we do passionately pursue some things, right? We're talkers. We're talkers for sure. And so your reaction, or my reaction, the universal you, how you react when somebody shares like an encouragement, and if you receive it as an encouragement or like, I don't think that was a little backward.
Yeah, I don't take a compliment well.
Yeah. But you love compliments.
I need compliments.
This is where things get real tough. But so over this past year, I've had a few folks share things like, oh, I really appreciated what you had to share. That leads me to...
And other people saying, hey, when are you going to do more podcasts?
And other people saying, when are you going to do a podcast? Are you going to do it? I really enjoyed it. And that feedback is lovely because it's often... like you don't get a lot of feedback, right? I mean, I guess unless you're really hopping, I don't know, and you have a whole network of business.
If we were more social media centric, we could probably get more feedback. But that's not what we want to do. Yeah.
And I'm not great at social media, so I did a little bit with our page, our Instagram, which we'll have an Instagram for the new one as well. But I'm not great at all that stuff. So it would be good to kind of I'll continue doing like an Instagram, but it's not my forte by any means.
Right. And the double-edged sword of that is, we don't get as sucked into the social media world, which can be detrimental, but also
you might lose out on growth.
Some of that, and not just growth, but just a connection and feedback.
And connection and feedback.
We got into the conversation. So you had people talking to you at these faith-based groups about input that you had that was valuable, and you had people saying, I also really miss your podcast, and those two things were kind of percolating in your head.
Yes. And so that really just led me to ChatGPT one day and saying, hey, if I were to rebrand my podcast, because it's still going to be nuanced in heart, because that is just...
It's still going to be beautiful.
Yeah, it's still going to be beautiful. Yeah. How would I go about doing that? Like, what should I name my podcast? And so we got some good ones. We got one that was like, if you're going to do because I shared that the podcast was going to continue to be nuanced in that, I want to explore the both and conversations versus either or conversations around faith and theology, how we view God. And when we read the Bible, what we might struggle with and the assumptions we might make, how do you reconcile justice and mercy, or how do you process truth and love? These are both topics that are like mind blown, you have to take both together. And we can sometimes err on thinking one is bigger than the other or so.
Yeah. And these are all much meatier topics than what Nuanced Beauty really dealt with, which was more kind of minutia of life stuff. How do you feel about tipping? Should you take your shoes off at people's houses? So if you were going to dedicate the time
to do a podcast,
do you want to do something that mattered a little more to you?
At this juncture. And so ChatGPT told us we could name it Nuanced Faith to pay tribute to Nuanced Beauty, but that sounded pretty generic. It also came up with the gray and the glory.
I love that one.
That was your favorite, wasn't it?
It sounded a little bit like a soap opera.
Yeah, and then what was some other ones? There was 10 of them that it came up with. I'm drawing a blank. Those were the two that really...
Those were the two I remember. I could scroll back, but the one we landed on was
rooted and wrestling.
Of course, we live in the South, so it's rootin' and wrestling.
Oh my gosh, no, I will never pronounce it that way. So rooted and wrestling, and kind of getting at this idea of like having roots, being grounded in your faith, but still wrestling with your faith. And I think that kind of beautifully captures where I would fall on things. And as I was kind of thinking about that title, and you think about like the story of Job, which might come up in an episode, Job acknowledged God through all of his suffering. Like he even got angry at God, like all the emotions toward God, but he ultimately saw God. God was at the center, and he acknowledged God at the center, and then he continued to wrestle with God. And I think that can perfectly capture how we pursue trusting God and having a relationship with God. And the pursuit is worth it, and God is willing to hear you, and he's willing to help you pursue him. And but you still take the step of trust, and you root yourself in him, and you submit, and you acknowledge God's ultimate authority, and then you can continue to wrestle with it. So that kind of resonated. That title resonated with what I hope to do.
You're going to need to start with how what you just said differs from deconstruction.
Oh yeah. So I mean, yeah, we could, and that's the thing is, and that's, I think I just said how it differed is because ultimately God was at the center and acknowledging him. But yes, that is where it's interesting.
And let's not do that now. It's a whole episode's content.
It totally is. Yeah. I just read that book by Ginger Hubbard, one of the 21 and counting kids, one of the Duggar kids. And she talks a little bit about kind of the difference between deconstructing and disentangling, I think is how she worded it. And she went through how you kind of have to sift through what isn't Jesus and what you kind of learn from culture and what you learn from potentially bad examples where we as humans are broken and fallen, and we walk through things out only partly seeing. You know, it talks about that we only see in part. Like Jesus was Jesus. And so if we tie our faith to the examples around us, we could be sorely disappointed. But also we're called to a higher standard. We're called to discomfort and growth and refining our faith and being refined. And so that is where you could definitely look at a Christian and say you're a hypocrite, because I would totally agree with that statement, because at the end of the day, we fall short. We don't get it right. We have to reassess. We do a poor job at things, but also we have all the love and all the grace to humbly move forward and do better, or to learn and grow. And, anyways, you said that topic, deconstruction is definitely a thing. It's like, oh boy, is she going to deconstruct here?
That's what it sounds like.
And that's where it's like, no, I feel firmly planted. But it's when you realize that, like universal you, realize how finite we are and how little we grasp, but yet we can still pursue it and we can still learn more. Like mercy and justice. In any situation, you might be inclined to want justice, or you might be inclined to offer mercy. Like with my children, I'm probably more inclined to offer them mercy. But with like...
somebody else's
cutting
children.
me off on the highway. Not really. I'm not a road rage person. I usually just go, oh, sorry, because I'm the one who's doing it.
Yeah, a little Midwesterner coming out.
But like for some, right, road rage or somebody cutting them off, like, man, they want to give them all the justice. And
that is just the churchy example. Anytime anyone wants to talk about
why
anger,
do people? Because some people do really struggle with road rage, and it's like in your own, like it's in your own quiet.
It's just you see these patterns when you hang around churches often enough.
Okay, fine. Well, I'll take it to a different one. Here's a sad one. It's when you read like a news report of somebody being trafficked, and you try and reckon your mind around how that person who trafficked them deserves any mercy, because you just want justice. But then you also realize that the person maybe who's being trafficked has had a slow descent into that situation. It didn't happen overnight. I mean, in most cases, it was a grooming and it was this and that person made decisions too that were faulty decisions. And that doesn't mean we blame the victim, but it's such a easy thing to like, oh, that person deserves mercy. And that person, we should lean into justice because they're clearly 100% bad and they're clearly 100% good. And that's just not true.
I find it so interesting how your mind works, because there's a whole spectrum of sin between cut me off on the highway to
sex trafficking.
You went straight from one end to the other. It couldn't have been like...
I couldn't think of any other like simple ones, you know?
Yeah.
Like
just really jumped into the deep end.
Driving it home, you know, unfortunately.
But your point's well taken.
Okay. Thanks.
So that is the sort of thing that rooting and wrestling is gonna be about.
Oh my gosh.
I'm ruining this for her. I'm totally ruining this for her.
So if you're here and you're a listener of Nuanced Beauty, thank you for the past couple of years and tuning in to myself and Bill and all of my guests. We had so many good conversations on Nuanced Beauty. But I decided I'm taking the podcast another direction, and I'm not like, I didn't create a new podcast, as you see, because if I'm in your newsfeed right now, you see a new logo, you see a new name and description, and you're probably thinking, what in the world is this?
And if you're thinking, oh man.
Yeah. And if you're thinking, oh man, that's not at all what I have time to listen to, unfollow. It's totally okay. I will move forward in life, and you will too. Boundaries are a good thing.
I won't even know who you are. That sounds dark. What I mean is like,
but it doesn't show me. Yeah, it doesn't tell me who is following me and who unfollows me. It does give me some interesting demographics, because if you're like listening on Apple or Spotify and you have your age and your sex set in there, it does share with me like the age group and the sex and the location of folks. So I have a general demographic based on marketing.
We can pretty well figure it out.
We're gonna
if you
unfollow,
unfollow, we're going to know a thing or two about your
unfollowed.
condition of your soul. We're going to be writing a letter.
Yeah. So you got any parting words, Bill? Let's wrap this up.
Yeah, no, let's wrap this up. Look forward to seeing you go through this next great adventure. We need to come up with a great like ending. Like we had, say like stay nuanced in the last one. It would be like stay rooted but wrestle. Like
you're gonna be like rooted in wrestling. I don't even know what you just said. I can't even say it.
Stay rooted but wrestling.
But wrestle. Stay rooted but wrestle.
We'll workshop something.
And Bill will still probably be a guest here and there, because me talking solo is probably, I don't know, a little lame. But at the same time, you might just catch 5 or 10 minute episodes of me chatting through a thought and an example and something that was challenging me. So
yeah, I think it's important to say we're not theologians.
Oh, yeah.
So I wouldn't take anything we say as authoritative in any meaningful way, but
I thought that was obvious because we're podcasters. Oh, I just burned my own trade.
I just don't want to sound too big for my britches here.
Yeah. No, think deeply on a thing. And I feel like, yeah, it's valid. I have no theological degree, but I feel like I shouldn't have to preface that every episode. I feel like that, like if you're listening to me,
every episode, but
you should be fully aware that I am just a talker and I don't know much at all. So I just think I know everything.
Yes, you do.
And with that, bye guys. Thanks for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and in the spirit of nuance, I hope you found something that you could agree with and you could disagree with, and still choose to lean in. Give us a follow, rating, and review, and consider sharing this episode with a friend to continue the dialogue and help us grow. Until next time.